This is my first time in the Bonafide SS127. I just, there was a demo day on Sunday, and I was able to go out with my wife and my son and check out the Bonafide SS127, which is the smaller one. And I really liked it. In fact, actually, my wife really liked it. It was really stable. So I'm coming out here right now to just check this out and see how I like this Bonafide. Right now, I already do like it. There's something up with the seat, but it also could just be, that I'm sitting on something. Oh, that's weird. That's interesting. There we go. So far, after being in this kayak for about, how long? About an hour, I've got a couple different opinions. There are some things that I like about it, and there are some things that I don't like about it. One of the things I do like about it, it is stable. I mean, this thing, when you go to one side, it holds. It's like, it's hard to tilt it. It's almost, I don't know if this makes sense, but it's almost stiff stability. It's a little bit awkward because other kayaks don't really do that. Other kayaks have like a little bit of give and then it will catch. This almost is pushing back, like it bounces back, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just when you're not used to it, it's almost like it's overcompensating and it can kind of get you off balance a little bit. So that's just something that I'm noticing. What I do like, I haven't gotten in the upward seat position, but as you can see, I can stand up, and that was from the low position. I'm 220 pounds, kind of a chubby guy. So I can stand up no problem. It's, like I said, it's stable. You're not going to fall out unless you don't have good balance. I mean, that really, a lot of times that's what it comes down to. I don't have the best balance, but if you have good balance, you can easily stand up in this without having a leash or anything like that. It paddles well. I mean, as you can see, it's basically glass out here. So when it comes to paddling, this kayak paddles pretty well. I like it. I feel like it gets up to speed pretty decently. I have this this pod, it's filled up. I have the back filled up. I've got 4 rods in here. I've got some tackle down here. So I've got a good amount of gear, as if you were going on a tournament. If you were fishing a tournament, I'm pretty much tournament set up, so it moves pretty well. The only thing that I've noticed that I don't really like about it is I don't feel like it tracks very well. Some people might disagree with me. I just know when I was in the Diablo, I didn't have the skeg on the Diablo, and I feel like the Diablo almost tracked a little bit better than this, and it's pretty calm. Well, there's starting to be a little bit of a current, but it's pretty calm today, and so it tracks decently. But if you're going down the banks, like if you were going down those banks, it just seems to constantly want to drift into the, well, just drift different ways and stuff. And so I know that this thing comes with a, or it doesn't come with a rudder, but you can install a rudder, but it doesn't come with a skeg, and I think that that's something they should have done. So I love this little dry pod. I love this thing. I love that you could put your transducer right there. You could take the entire thing out. You could have your fish finder right there. I think that's awesome. I wish the Diablo did that. I think that would be awesome. Just that way, if you had your fish finder all set up and everything, you could drag this kayak on the ground and not worry about scratching up your transducer, and then you could just put the sonar pod, or whatever this thing is called, down in it once you get on the water. I really like that idea. There's gear tracks all around. That's pretty awesome. Gear tracks are always versatile. Trying to think some other things. I'm not a huge fan of the seat. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I like the seat. The seat is actually pretty comfortable. I'm not a huge fan of how they've done the seat. I know they say, oh, it's pretty simple, and maybe it gets a little bit easier once you get used to it. I don't know, when I was just trying to get it up, it just seemed like so many different things that you had to do, and I don't know. I kind of like it in the low position. I think it's fine right here. I'd like it just a little bit higher. That way I could get my feet under me a little bit more, and I could stand up a little bit easier. But I mean, they have the high position for a reason, and if I wasn't too lazy, then I could just put it in the high position. I wouldn't even have to complain about it. But other than that, those are probably my complaints on it. But it is a fun kayak. It's not very heavy, in my opinion. I'm used to PA14, Hobie Outback. These are heavy kayaks. This is lighter than all of those, so I really enjoyed that. It made it easier truck bedding it. I have a T-bone, Boonedox T-bone, and lifting it up onto that was super simple. My PA14 stock, just with the seat, weighs like 100, I think it's 140 pounds, but with everything that I have in it when it comes to tournament fishing, I truly believe that thing weighs close to 200 pounds. So that thing is just heavy. So I don't like truck bedding it, but this kayak was a lot easier. Now granted, I don't have anything in the front hatch, and I basically had it bare, but I did enjoy that. Anything that makes it easier to get on the water, I feel gets you on the water more. And what I mean by that is, if the kayak is heavy, if you have a lot of stuff, a lot of times it's just not worth it. It's not worth it to go on the water. For me at least. If I only have like an hour to get out, I'm not taking the PA-14. I'm just not. It takes too long for me to get on the water, and it's just not worth it. So for me, I'm looking for a lighter kayak, something that I could just bring like 2 rods, a couple of tackle boxes, kind of like when I just go pond fishing, something very basic and simple, and that I could get on the water super, super quick. This is one of those kayaks. It's a little bit heavier than something like that, just slightly, but I'd have no problem taking this out, just throwing it in a pond or something like that, and bringing a little couple of tackle boxes. For tournament fishing, I'm sure this kayak is awesome. They really thought of everything. Okay, I forgot about this. The marine mat is amazing. This is amazing. It's so comfortable. It's soft. And the other day, I took my wife and my son out to demo. I actually demoed the SS127, and I didn't have my phone. I didn't bring my camera, so I didn't film it. But it was about 100 degrees out there. I think it was like 97 degrees. It was extremely hot, and when this marine mat got wet, it was super cool. Like, my feet were cold. It was awesome. Now when I'm in my PA or any other kayak where it's that hot and you're stepping on the polyurethane, it gets really hot. I like kayaking barefoot. I just do. And in the middle of the summer, it gets really, really hot. And I'll tell you right now, them putting this marine mat on there stock is genius. It's really, really smart that they did that, and I really love that. Again, I really love this sonar pod. Obviously if you're putting a fish finder, that's where you'd want to put it, but I also like it as a dry hatch. I know I'm looking at these things also for my wife. My wife's not going to fish, but you know, having storage, so her being able to put her phone, her wallet, you know, all of that stuff right there is key. Also, when I took my son out, I had him sit right there and he was facing me, so you know, it was a nice little seat that he could straddle. It worked really, really good. You also have this bin right here, as I showed you guys earlier, a little trash bin. You can throw your tackle boxes in here. That's really awesome. It slides back and forth. It also, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little nut right here where you could screw it in, so that way it doesn't slide. So like whenever you're transporting it, you don't want that thing sliding back and forth. And they have a little rubber thing right here. It's like a stopper, so you can take the nut out right there to lift this whole thing up, but they have this little rubber stopper, so that way you when that thing is down, you can't get it out, so you don't have to worry about possibly losing your little trash bin. You got the marine mat right here. They said that you can stand on this, and I honestly, I'm not going to try it right now, but I believe it, because like I said, if you start leaning, it almost bounces you back. So that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, where it didn't, I might not have communicated that the best, but most kayaks, like especially the PA-14, when you start leaning, all of a sudden, like, you'll be able to lean and then it'll catch and it'll just stop. I don't know if you guys can see this, but when in this kayak, when you lean, it bounces you straight back, which could be a good thing. It's just, I'm not used to it. In most kayaks, you lean to this side and it just sits. This kayak, you lean to that one side and it bounces you back. And so if you're not paying attention to that, it could cause you to lose balance. But if you got used to it, I'm sure it'd be totally fine. But that's just something that I've noticed with this. But that being said, I totally believe that you could stand on the marine mat right here on the sides and sight cast and everything. So this is an awesome all-around kayak. It really is. When it comes to kayaks, you're never going to find a perfect kayak. You never will. There is no perfect kayak. There are kayaks that can do a lot of things, but the things that they can do well, they might suffer on another aspect. Like, I'll use this as an example. This kayak is a little bit higher off the water. Some of the good things about that is you're not going to get as wet. So if I'm paddling and there's a small little chop, I'm not going to get wet at all. That's a bonus. But because it's a little bit higher, when the wind picks up, this is going to catch the wind a little bit more. That's negative. In comparison to the Diablo is very, very low to the water. So if you're in any amount of chop, you're just getting soaked in that kayak all the time. Could be a negative if you don't want to get soaked. But in the wind's going right over that thing and you're not getting pushed around. That's a positive. That's kind of what I mean is you can't have a perfect kayak. You can't have a kayak where it has high walls so it keeps you dry and also is so low that the wind's not affecting it. It's just not going to happen. So that's just a small example. There's so many other different things that go into a kayak that are like that, or that same principle. I do kind of wish that they put a bucket in here in the front hatch. I don't know if they do have one. They might have an option. I don't think it comes with it, but I love that about my PA14 is I love having a bucket in the front hatch, so that way you can keep, like I always throw my rain gear in there, sweatshirt. Obviously in the summer you don't necessarily need that, but like I'll throw dry clothes, I'll throw food, and I just have a bunch of stuff, toilet paper. I keep a lot of things up there, and when you don't have a bucket, that stuff can slide around, can fall all the way to the back. And then two, if there is water that gets into the front hatch or just gets into the hole, well then all of your stuff is sitting in the water that's sloshing around. So I just really appreciate when kayaks put a like a bucket or a tray in the front hatch. That's just my preference, and that's why I prefer that. All of these things, these little grooves are awesome. I mean, look, that rod fits right there, and it's, when I was standing up, I don't even have to look. I slid that in and just kind of dropped it, and look, it just went right into that groove. It just sticks right there. It's really, really cool. I really like that. And then if I take a rod, I can just put this rod right there and it fits right in that other groove. I keep it right there. It's not sliding around. And I'm not the type of person to stage all of my rods in front of me. I know a lot of people will have like 3 rods up here. I can't do it. I just don't like it. I like keeping my space up here free. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my review. Hopefully it was helpful and informative for you guys. And until next time, I'll see you on the water.